Hello and welcome back to Cinematic Universe, everyone. My name is Ernesto Martinez. Damon's back. How are you, man?
I'm good.
Feels like forever since we reviewed a movie.
No shit, it's been a minute.
Yeah. How do I even start this review?
I don't know. I honestly, I'm so, I'm so sad and so frustrated. I don't even know where to go with it.
Yeah, when I posted on Facebook that I was going to watch it, I remember basically describing in one paragraph what the feeling was for the movie, and I have this damn near horrified expression on my face. I'm like, shit, what the hell am I gonna did I get myself into? But
I'm sorry.
well, it's fine. But it's just like, wow, for Damon to tell me all that in that description is just. I mean, Cynthia had the best reaction. Yikes! So.
I recall what I wrote now.
Yeah. So, what was the running time of this movie anyway? Was it an hour and 45 minutes?
104 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
So hour and 44 minutes.
Okay. All right.
It's not the shortest runtime I've ever heard of, but you feel it, man. You feel it when you're about an hour in and it goes off the rails and you're like, wow, they've got to tie this up in 40 minutes and I don't know where they're going to do it.
Yeah. So basic setup here. The Fantastic Four, the first family of the Marvel Universe, arguably and factually the first superpowered beings that Marvel ever created back in 1961. As Elijah said perfectly, they are the foundation of generation upon generation of Marvel comic stories. And it feels that nobody, after 4 movies, including the Roger Corman one, have been able to get the Fantastic Four. It always seems like they're trying to reinvent the wheel when there shouldn't be a reinvention to do. You have a group of 4 people who are at their core a family, who have powers, and their number one villain, Victor Von Doom, is a genius inventor billionaire whose sole purpose is to protect his country of Latveria and will do anything to protect them, and is basically ruled by logic. What is so difficult to comprehend from that?
Well, what they try to do is they try to paint him as a villain, and honestly, I mean, Victor has villainous tendencies, but Victor's he's an antagonist, sure, but Victor thinks that he's doing the right thing.
Exactly. He feels like he's the apex of the universe, and his law is the one that should be the common thing.
Yeah, and if you're gonna make one of these movies, the studio is going to be damned if it's not a super villain that they're portraying. So in that case, you have to lose a lot of the cool stuff that goes along with his character.
Yeah. Man. Okay, so if I haven't understood correctly, these characters, at least this reboot, is based on the 2004 Ultimate line, correct?
Pretty much. It's actually fairly faithful to the Ultimate Fantastic Four.
Okay.
They're starting out younger. Reed and Ben are childhood friends. Victor is met by Reed at the Baxter Foundation, and they're peers.
Yeah.
As children, and that's how he meets Sue and all that good stuff, and it's pretty close.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, Trank's version, it starts really well. I mean, it's not groundbreaking, but it's intelligible.
Yeah, I can agree to that, but here's a problem. At no point did I felt like I cared that much. I mean, I know what he was going for. He's trying to reestablish everyone, reestablish their motivations. At least with Victor, who his entire name is Victor Von Doom. I mean, okay, I know I'm supposed to have my suspension of disbelief, but as does at least that one person, Dr. Allen, what was the actor's name?
Tim Blake Nelson?
Yeah, Tim Blake Nelson. At least Tim Blake Nelson had the common sensibility in the movie to say, why isn't this guy in jail after what he did to us last time? Because even as long as I'm trying to suspend my disbelief, when somebody's name is Victor Von Doom, that should already raise some flags. Who names themselves Victor Von Doom? I mean, I remember back when it was before pre-production, they mentioned that Josh Trank wanted to call him Victor Von Domashev, which, no offense, that sounds like a better last name than Victor Von Doom. At least the Von Doom part could come after, when he ascends to the Doctor Doom persona. But a regular last name like Domashev or Van Damme or something like that sounds much more believable than, oh yeah, my last name is Doom. I mean, yeah. I mean, is no better than Megaton as your last name, but still, Doom is like, really? Your last name is Doom? But I'm not going to focus on that much. I'm just trying to point out that in the spirit of suspense of disbelief, when you have a last name like that, it raises some eyebrows. But it got to the point where all the actors come from very talented backgrounds. Kate Mara, Michael B. Jordan, Miles Teller, and Jamie Bell, and Toby Cabell as from Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. He did a great performance capture for the antagonist of that character, Koba. Yeah, Koba was the character's name.
Right.
But it almost felt like the only time there was ever any chemistry was between Toby Cabell and Miles Teller before they even went to the negative zone. That's the only time out of all these characters that I felt such chemistry between the actors. Everyone else, they were just drawn out of a lottery and they just went with it. I understand that the argument for Michael B. Jordan was that, well, he originally worked with Josh Trank on Chronicle, and I remember him saying that they always wanted him to be the Human Torch and everything, and they were going to diversify, which at the end of the day is fine, but I don't think they really went anywhere with the whole diversifying the Storm family and the adoption with Sue Storm. It never felt like that went anywhere. I just felt like, again, this was just like a waste of good talent for characters that, at its core, it felt like they were going to, reach a new playing field, but it never got there.
No, it really didn't. And the sad thing to me is I felt like they were well on their way. I mean, and I knew, I had read several reviews because I've been championing this thing since day one. I've had a good feeling about it. The trailer came out, and I felt really good about that too. And then to hear all of this stuff, I mean, beginning with the reshoots and the problems that they were having with Trank several months ago, I was just like, man, this is this is not a good thing. So I started reading these reviews, and I mean, they basically paint the picture of it feels like two separate movies. You walk in, it starts out, it's a little plotting, there's some editing issues or whatever, and it's pretty good, and then all of a sudden it's just not.
Yeah, you said that there's editing issues. Not only were there editing issues, but it almost felt like there was a whole movie missing in between.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like a 40-minute cut that they took out as well?
That is the rumor. I've heard it anywhere from 20 minutes to 40 minutes.
And that Fox initially, before pre-production started, they came in and removed 3 set pieces that were very integral to the plot. Which
they also replaced the director of photography, not the director of photography, but special effects coordinator.
Okay.
Who the guy that they had originally was an Oscar winner, and they were very excited. And then at the last minute, they brought in some new guy who apparently wasn't up to the task. Maybe, I don't know. It definitely looks like amateur hour.
Yeah. Here's the thing that I don't get. I mean, I understand the Hollywood machine in the sense that the studio owns the movie, not the director, not the producer. The studio, at the end of the day, is the one shelling out the big bucks. It's the one approving everything. It's the one whose name is at the beginning before the title of the movie. That's the studio. I understand that. What I don't understand is, what is it about a studio that hires the talent, tells the talent, this is what we want, can you do this? We will hire you if you give us this. You hire your talent. You're going to trust this talent. You're going to give your talent millions upon millions of dollars to give you your money's back tenfold and deliver a great product. And then hours before you begin, then you start going in there and you say, wrong, 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 wrong. This needs to be out. This needs to be that. I mean, come on. It gets to the point where it's unprofessional to, the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is, I mean, Trank pitched his plan for the Fantastic Four, and they were very excited. Fox was very excited about it. And they told him at the time, you know, if Chronicle does well, which at that point it was looking like it was going to do phenomenally well, and it did.
It did $100 million on a shoestring budget. Of course it did well.
Yeah, it did incredibly well. And I mean, you know, a lot of that had to do with the fact that that he had a lot of freedom, and he didn't have the studio machine jumping on his balls the whole time. But yeah. You know, I mean, I get it. I mean, the studio's they've gotta be the heavy a lot of times, and I mean, to a certain extent, I understand that. But at the same time, you know, they brought this guy in because of what he could do, and then they basically handcuffed him.
Exactly. It's like when you're going to hire a contractor, you tell them, this is what I want, this is what we're going to pay you to do, can you turn this? Your contractor says yes, and then once you're halfway there and you're seeing what your contractor is doing, you get this sudden idea that you know more than the contractor that you're paying for. And then you say you want it this way again, and then they tell you, okay, but I have to warn you that it's not going to work the way that we originally planned it, and when you force him to do it, it's going to blow up in your face, which evidently it did. And not only is Fox the one to blame, but there's also the whole thing with Josh Trank being a complete asshole to the crew and the actors, so...
If that's even true.
If that's even true, of course, yeah, exactly. But...
I mean, I honestly feel like Fox is spinning right now. I mean, they need a scapegoat, and even if that's the case, this is an unproven director. He's done one thing. It did very well, but he's done one thing, man. You know? I mean, for Fox to come in and say, well, you know, Fantastic Four would have been great, but this guy Josh Trank just came in and jacked up all over the place. Everything got fucked up because of this guy. And I mean, you entrusted it to this guy, who was unproven. So shame on you, Fox.
Yeah, and the sad reality is that at the end of the day, there are only two people you can blame: the guy who's sitting at the director's chair, who's the one steering the ship onto land, and the people who built the ship. There are only two people, and more often than not, it's the person sitting on the director's chair who gets axed off completely. And this was a guy who was even tapped by Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm to direct one of the Star Wars movies, the anthology series movies. And he apparently, this whole fuck-up thing just, you know, took him out. So, I don't know, man. There's Fox, for some reason, they have like this monopolistic way of them operating, because it seemed like they finally got back to, you know, wow, Fox says now can't do no wrong. Yeah, on their TV side, they seem to cancel everything left and right without seeing their potential. But on the movie side, First Class, the Wolverine Chronicle. You also have X-Men Days of Future Past. They're brilliant marketing with the Deadpool movie, letting Singer come back to play with on his playground with the X-Men characters. You just have to ask yourself, seriously, guys, what the hell? You guys were on a good high. 2014 was your year. You had Dawn of the Apes and everything. It's just what? But yeah, pretty much focused too much on the studio at this point. We do have a movie here to review. Here's the thing. I remember when Josh Trank was tapped for, Fantastic Four. And I'll be honest with you, the Fantastic Four as a team is not exactly my cup of tea. I do want to read some of their stories. However, only Reed Richards, Sue Storm, and Victor Von Doom are the only characters I actually give a damn about. Because personally, and no offense to anybody else who loves the Fantastic Four, I think The Thing and Johnny Storm are dead weight. They're just complete useless characters. They're just there because they're, background characters. But I'm willing to see a movie. I mean, they are monsters. They are a family and everything, so why not watch it? So, I felt that after watching Chronicle, it's like, okay, this guy has a good dynamic of people who discover their powers. Who would have thought that Chronicle would end up being the better Fantastic Four movie? And it doesn't even have 4 people with superpowers. It only has 3 people, and their one, Sue Storm, is a blonde girl who's constantly blogging whatever she's recording. That being said, I remember Josh Trank mentioned something about, I was inspired by Cronenberg, and I'm going to use that inspiration for the metamorphosis of these characters, which he does when he puts everyone in one of those, the interdimensional matter transporter machine that actually looks straight out of The Fly, and their transformation, again, straight out of The Fly. When that happens in the movie, when everything goes wrong, Victor gets stuck on the negative zone, which for some reason they call Planet Zero, which I don't understand that. Why not just call it the negative zone? What is that about people saying, we can't call it that. Let's call it something else because it's too mainstream. That entire sequence, when Miles Teller is all bloody, his suit is cracked, he's got glass in his face, and he's trying to walk towards Ben, and you see Johnny burn to a crisp. You assume he's just burning like they're like a freaking corpse. Fire coming out of his mouth, his chest, his stomach. That's the only part of the movie I liked. Because the thing about Spider-Man and any other character who gets their superpowers by toxic waste or anything like that, it's not supposed to be clean. It's supposed to be horrifying, like the Joker. When the Joker fell in that vat of acid, it's horrifying. So I give Josh Trank credit for that one sequence when everybody's transforming into the characters they should be. That is the only good thing I loved about the movie. The rest just went way downhill.
Okay.
And another thing that was missing from this movie was the humanity and the heart. That's the thing the Fantastic Four have. The heart, the humanity. Again, I'll stress it again. They're a family. And I didn't see that. Even with Sue Storm and Johnny Storm, it felt like there wasn't any connection between them. How is it that the one character who is blood related to his father is still the outcast of those two?
That's a good question.
I just don't understand, really.
Honestly, I feel like there were a lot of cuts, and I think we would have gotten more of that information if the stuff hadn't been cut. I mean, again, we're talking about a 100-minute movie that has to deal with introducing 5 incredibly complex and rich characters. I'm actually a huge Fantastic Four fan, so there were things about it that I really liked. I really liked all the scenes between Reed and Ben when they were kids. I thought that was really cool. I like the idea of them not meeting in college. I like the idea of them actually knowing each other as kids. I think it adds a dynamic to their relationship that you don't get otherwise. Again, also, if you're going to make them in their late teens, early 20s, it helps for them to have some history. But some of the things that I just thought were great, when they go to the Baxter Building for the first time, and they're looking out the window, and Ben just gets this great look on his face, this like he's come home, and he's happy for his friend, and I thought that was beautiful. I also really liked, and this is slightly off the subject, I really liked Jamie Bell's accent. I mean, he sounded like a kid from Brooklyn. And something I found really interesting is once he was the Thing, he sounded like a robot. And I was like, he didn't even sound like a I'm going to kick your ass, badass kind of robot. He just sounds like I'm reading you the phone book.
Yeah, there's like a mouthpiece in there, just a sound coming out.
I liked the little things, the little conversations that Reed had with Sue. I liked the thing where she sees patterns and stuff like that. I liked that Victor, when he leaves the school, is just kind of sitting on his throne behind the desk and watching the world, keeping an eye on the world. It was
yeah, that part is still true to his character, that he's fighting the evil government and everything. I mean, it goes back to what Trank said about Victor being more of an online activist, troll, if you will, which I got a little hesitant because, again, in the short years that I've read anything with Victor Von Doom, you kind of have expectations. You have expectations. This is a guy who once held the power of a god and said it was boring. Alright? This is the guy who was bored for having the power of a god to rule the whole world if he wanted to, and he got bored of it. So, you have expectations, and
The thing is, I think they were closer to realizing a proper Victor Von Doom in this movie. And then at the 1 year later mark, which I want to come back to that in a minute because I really had a problem with that.
Yeah.
But after the 1 year later mark, Victor Von Doom isn't even, I mean, he's, okay, you could say he went crazy and he just wants to destroy everything. But I mean, that's fucked up too. There was a good groundwork laid for him being, first of all, jealous of Reed's intellect, jealous of Reed's possible relationship with Sue, and everything that they had been building, they just threw out. I mean, they could have jettisoned the entire first hour of the movie and just started, hey, 1 year later. Because nothing was really all that important. Show the negative zone, show this. I mean, it would have been even bigger pile of shit, but at least I wouldn't have had this horrible schizophrenic moment where I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? And who the hell is scoring this movie? Because I didn't notice the music at all for the first hour of the movie, and then all of a sudden it's in my face and just slapping me like a wet noodle in the face saying, hey, listen to this music. Doesn't this sound like a fucking superhero show? But the whole 1 year later thing, I don't get. We see them go through this, and then we see them 1 year later, and Johnny's flying around, he's really happy, and Ben is resigned to being a government heavy. Reed, who runs away and is gone for a year and only comes back because they capture him. And I mean, these had to be like the studio saying, okay, we don't really understand this, so we're gonna turn this around and oh, hey, you know what? Never mind. Here comes Victor Von Doom, and he's really pissed off, and boom. The whole thing. I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand. First of all, 2 or 3 weeks ago, Bryan Singer announced that they would be merging the universes, and he was going to be like the Godfather, the overseer of the X-Men universe and the Fantastic Four universe. Why would they even? They had to have seen this movie at that point.
Yeah.
They had to have said, God, this is really a soulless piece of dog shit. but let's make this announcement anyway. Unless they're thinking of using this as kind of loose mythology and bringing those characters into the X-Men universe that way. That's the only thing that makes any sense to me. Otherwise, why even get the fans' hopes up?
Yeah, it just feels like it's a no-brainer that these characters should coexist. I mean, who are the characters that come with the Fantastic Four rights? You have the Silver Surfer, Galactus, and who else? Annihilus.
Annihilus, yeah, he was actually in the Mole Man, which, I mean, Tim Blake Nelson's character in the when he was cast, he was Harvey Elder. He was the Mole Man.
Okay.
And then they changed the character's name from Harvey Elder to Harvey Nelson or something.
Yeah.
Or whatever the fuck his name was. But I'm sitting here and I'm watching that and I'm like, man, Victor Von Doom just totally killed the shit out of the Mole Man. And then I was like...
That's another thing that pissed me off. You have all... when you're trying to create a universe, you write the rules of your universe and how everything plays out. Who gets to live, who gets to die, what everyone's powers is. Once Doom came in, it felt like he was working outside, breaking the fourth wall of the parameters of the rules established for this universe. He started blowing up people's heads like nothing, which makes you wonder why the fight between him and the Fantastic Four lasted so long when he could have obliterated them like that. Because it doesn't seem like their newfound abilities makes them indestructible to psycho shock therapy.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then another thing about the whole 1 year later thing is...
so many things about this movie that don't make sense.
Yeah, and another thing about the 1 year later thing is Reed Richards, which he's trying to build parts so that he can, fix things. Again, we're going back to the 2005 movie where they spent the entire movie trying to fix things and not do anything. Here you have Miles Teller, not Miles Teller, looking for parts, which apparently he can mold his face with his stretchy abilities and not only change his appearance, but also change his race as well?
That's actually canon.
Really?
Reed's been able to do that kind of stuff before. I mean, he's done it.
But change his race too?
Well, I mean, he was pretty tan.
Oh. I'm sorry. I mean, people gave Michael B. Jordan so much shit. I'm giving him shit just for this one scene.
Yeah, but that wasn't even his problem.
No, I know. I'm not trying to say it's anyone's problem. It's just that it really took me out of the movie for that one sequence. I'm just, what the fuck am I watching?
Here's a big issue I had with Reed's character. He talks about a flying car at the very beginning of the movie, and that's cute. I chuckled. And then he's working on a teleporting system. But that's the only thing you ever hear him talk about creating. And if anybody knows anything about Reed Richards, it's that he creates something every 10 minutes that he's alive. Exactly. Oh, I got an idea for this. Oh, I've got an idea for this. The only thing he works on, the only thing that he creates, other than arguably the Fantastic Four, is this teleporter.
Exactly.
That's it. And I mean, that's really weak storytelling for Reed Richards. I mean, the dude, I mean, if he has, his superpower isn't stretching. His superpower is his big brain, man. It is. It absolutely is. He's a mutant.
A scary big brain, basically.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I wanted to bring up is when you see him as a kid. Okay, this movie starts in 2007, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about studios these days when they try to go back 10 years that they think that in those 10 years ago it feels like 1980 or 1990. Because when you look at Reed's garage and he's building that teleporter, he has this whole wall full of Nintendo 64s, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You couldn't find another platform stronger in 2007? Were there no Xbox 360s that you could have used to power a bit? I'm sorry. I don't know where the fuck you found hundreds upon hundreds of Nintendo 64s all on his own. Because I'm pretty sure it wasn't on his parents' dime.
Probably not, no.
And then, yeah, you want to expand on the whole 1 year later thing because that also pissed me off as well.
1 year later, I think is just a way to kind of for the studio to change the tone abruptly without it seeming like it's abrupt. I mean, it's a very, very different feel as soon as that happens. And honestly, 1 year later is the only thing that could have explained it, and not even very well. And also, that's around the time when I heard that Philip Glass and Marco Beltrami were both scoring this movie, I was excited because usually when I see a collaboration like that, it means that they've figured out that this guy's really good at action and this guy's really good at like the intrigue and the quiet moments. And I really feel like they probably brought in another scoring composer to kind of redo what the original guy did. And I don't know who the original guy is. I don't know. And I mean, I don't even know if I'm right. It feels to me like this guy composed the first movie and this guy composed the second movie. But it could be that they were working in tandem the whole time. Whatever the case, it completely took me out of it. When we got to the 1 year later thing, the music was so over the top and so in your face. I don't like to notice the music unless it's just so good and so fitting that hearing it like brings the movie back to me. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there have been so many, and there have been so many really good composers that have done heavy-handed scores. Alexandre Desplat, the guy who did the great Harry Potter, last two Harry Potters, and he's done some really great stuff since then. He's amazing. But he did the score for The Golden Compass several years ago. Mm-hmm. And it was the most heavy-handed, in-your-face, just, I mean, horrible thing. And that's exactly what I felt with the latter half of the score for this movie. So the 1 year later thing, that's like a first-grade tool for we really don't know how to transition this shit.
No. There's not much more I can say about this movie without ranting about it. And I'm not even that big of a fan of the character, so it shows you that my expectations were not met. And
that's really sad.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if you don't have a horse in the race to begin with, really, and it still pissed you off, god damn it, man. That's fucked up.
Yeah. The last thing I'll bring up is, where the fuck was Mark Millar in all this?
That's a really good question.
Because he was
Fox's boy. He should have been head consultant on this shit.
That's what he was hired for. That's what he was hired for, to consult.
Yeah, on the Marvel movies and on the Fox Marvel movies. And I mean, I looked in the credits. You know who was credited? Brian Hitch. And I love Brian Hitch, but he's an artist, and he generally doesn't do much with the stories. He did promo art. He probably did some storyboarding stuff. Mm-hmm. But they should have been talking to Miller about this the whole fucking time. And who knows? Maybe they were. Yeah. I mean, Matthew Vaughn had something to do with this movie, right? Wasn't he on as a producer?
I think Matthew Vaughn and anyone else was just brought in to save the day. That's mostly what I kept hearing about, but it doesn't seem like they went in there with good intention. They just went in there just to salvage anything. I mean, didn't they mention also that Josh Trank wasn't even included in the final editing stages as well? He was just kicked out of the room.
Yeah, that's what they said. Here's the thing, though. I don't think Matthew Vaughn was ever brought in to do anything more than just the most meager of consulting work. Because Matthew Vaughn does not make anything that looks like what we watched yesterday.
No.
Matthew Vaughn, he is as polished and, I mean, just professional as he can be. He does not make dreck like that. I wouldn't think he'd even want to be associated with it. If I were him, I wouldn't want to be listed as a producer on this film.
Oh. And then you also have Simon Kinberg, right? Who, it seems like for the past 3 years, it seemed like he could do no wrong.
Yeah, he's all over the place. But we also have to remember that Kinberg wrote the script for The Last Stand.
No, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that his entire library is, impeccable. I'm just saying that for the past 3 years, it looked like he finally found his stride. I was seeing Kinberg everywhere, attached to projects that seem like they're going to be the most amazing thing ever created. But now, I'm not going to say that this one movie is going to derail him completely, but it's going to, make you a bit apprehensive now. It's like, oh boy. I mean, usually it doesn't take one thing to ruin you completely, but in Hollywood, it takes one thing to ruin you, period.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that for him. I think if anything, they'll spin it that he was either trying to right a sinking ship or something like that. And I mean, that may very well be. From what I understand, he was pretty much involved, not from the very beginning, because I think it was Josh Trank and Jeremy Slater that did the initial script for the movie. And I think Kinberg probably came in and made some rewrites or some addendums and stuff like that. I think we might have had a different person altogether come in, and it might not have even been rewrites. It might have been that they just chopped the shit out of the movie so bad with the editing that it seems like really bad writing.
Yeah.
Well, stranger things have happened.
Yeah. Well, I remember saying that it couldn't get any worse than the first Fantastic Four movie. I remember Dan writing knocks on wood in one of my posts.
Yeah.
I don't think we knocked the wood hard enough.
Yeah. Well,
it's not fantastic. I'll tell you that much. It's not fantastic.
I think the original Fantastic Four movie gets a lot more shit than it really deserves, and maybe this is the way to kind of karmically balance it out a little bit. I mean, I was never a big Johnny Storm fan. Mm-hmm. I was never a big Johnny Storm fan. I loved Reed. I loved Sue. I was a big Ben Grimm fan. When I was a kid, there was a cartoon with the Thing in it, and he that's back when, during one of the times when he could actually change at will from Ben Grimm.
I saw that cartoon, yes. I
he had two rings, and if he slammed them together, it was almost like the Cosmic Bands.
Yeah, he would hide under a bookcasing, and he would put the rings together, and then you see the rocks falling on him and turning into the Thing. I remember that cartoon. That was one of my first introductions.
And he actually, his catchphrase, ring, ring, do your thing, and he did that kind of thing. But anyway, I was a big fan of him, and I always said that if they ever did a Fantastic Four, I wanted it to be CG, and I wanted Dennis Franz to be the voice of the Thing, because I thought it would be friggin' perfect. Because he sounds like the Thing to me. He always has. But the last thing in the world I expected was to go into that movie and come out just so incredibly high on Johnny Storm. I thought Chris Evans was amazing as Johnny Storm. I thought Michael Chiklis did a great job as the Thing, even though I hated the suit. I thought he looked like, a fat guy in a suit, which is basically what he was.
Yeah.
I thought Reed looked great, and I thought Sue looked great, but their chemistry was like... And
wasn't it for that movie also that originally George Clooney and Charlize Theron were supposed to be Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm?
That would have been fantastic. I was really hoping for Jude Law. I think Jude Law would have been fantastic. I'm not going to say that. I think Jude Law would have been great. He has the proper amount of aloofness, and I honestly think you getting George Clooney into another superhero thing is like
never.
That's 1,000,000 to 1 right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would have been great. They would have been God damn it, that's really hard not to do. They would have been incredible. Ha ha ha.
Ironically speaking, The Incredibles is still the better Fantastic movie.
Oh, and I hate The Incredibles. I mean, I don't, but I hate the amount of accolades it gets because, I mean, it's clearly a ripoff of the Fantastic Four, and the fact that they got that right, it's it's like if I were a bigger Trek fan, I'd probably be pissed off all day long about Galaxy Quest and how much better it is than the Trek movies.
Okay.
But I think one of these days somebody's going to come along and they're going to make a movie and it's going to be right. And I'm just not even going to know what to do with myself. And the fact that apparently Peyton Reed had a really compelling pitch where he wanted to make it during the 60s, like X-Men First Class. I don't know why they didn't do that. I think that would have made a lot of sense. Especially if they were able to marry that with First Class, because I think it would have been really interesting. Again, I'm not touting Peyton Reed here necessarily, because I don't think there's anything terribly compelling about him as a director or a writer. But
at least that would go in hand with the continuity and history of the characters. If you start them off young, put them in the 60s.
Yeah, it could absolutely work. And with this cast, which, again, I want to say here, I think the cast did a fantastic job. And yeah, I used the fucking word. But Miles Teller was great as Reed. I felt like, the whole schoolboy thing, and he was kind of aloof, and he didn't really, catch on to everything. And him drunk was absolutely hilarious. I thought Michael B. Jordan was great as Johnny Storm. I thought, he was the right amount of smart ass, the right amount of intelligent. But there's so much good that's there. To have it be as bad as it is just hurts me.
Yeah. Well, at this point, feels like we're going back in circles, because...
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Here's my final thought. Two things. Number one, it's clobbering time. I don't know what right mind they thought it was okay to use the term "it's clobbering time" with child abuse. I don't know who thought that was the right idea. I work in child safety, and that catchphrase should not go hand in hand with child abuse. Period. That's one of my big negatives of this movie, outside of every fuck up that this movie had.
I wouldn't necessarily call that child abuse because it was his older brother.
Yeah, but it's still child abuse.
It's still child abuse. But it's also siblings knocking the shit out of each other. I get that, but I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree.
And the last thing is, Fox is never going to let these rights go back to Marvel. They are going to do whatever it takes to make sure that there is a new Fantastic Four movie in any way, shape, or form made every 5 or 10 years or something.
Yeah, I think it's every 7 or 8 years they have to have a new one in production.
Yeah.
So they'll wait. They can't really afford to do this just out of spite, though. $120 million, they're not even going to make half of that back.
I don't think they're going to see more than 80.
Yeah.
Any last few words before we get out of this thing?
If anybody is interested in reading a really good Fantastic Four story, Jeff Loeb, he's a big fan of Fantastic Four, back in the either the late 90s or the early aughts, was jokingly talking about the Fantastic Four and how much he loved them. And he said, I love the Fantastic Four so much, I would write them for $1. And somebody at Marvel said, hey, that sounds like a pretty good deal. And he did it. He wrote the Fantastic Four for, I want to say, between 12 and 20 issues. And it is one of the most satisfying runs I have ever read. Mark Waid followed it, and he was really great. And J. Michael Straczynski followed that, and he was really great. But the Jeff Loeb run is so incredibly fun, and it's completely accessible. So if you've never read the books, and I'm talking to you too, buddy. If you've never read the books, or you just don't understand what the big shit is about these characters, go and find Jeff Loeb's run and read that, and just feel worse than you already do, because that's what this could have been.
Yeah, it'll probably be the same feeling I got when I actually read Green Lantern Secret Origins, the book that was based on the movie. And man, the entire vitriolity I had for the movie after that was immeasurable. That's pretty much everything we have to say, guys. If you want to see the movie just to, out of curiosity, just to see how bad it is, versus outweighing the good and the bad, it's your funeral. But I can't recommend you pay full theater price for it.
I submit that it's never a bad idea to educate yourself about the film process. Go and see this movie and see what massive studio interference looks like. But like Ernesto said, see if you can find the discount movie.
Exactly. And it says a lot about a studio interferent movie when The Amazing Spider-Man 2 ends up being the better one.
I like The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Shut
up. I'm just saying, it's,
I know. I totally feel you.
Yeah, pick your poison, basically. Thanks, everyone, for listening. My name is Ernesto Martinez. Damon Hawk Guy, thank you for joining me,
guys.
as always. You can find me on Twitter at MartinezXYZ. You can find me on YouTube, Cinematic Universe Ultimate. And you can find me at my new place, MoviePilot.com. Cinematic Universe. Thank you all. Bye-bye.